Good evening, folks. A minute to go. Call the meeting to order. I want to acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of the Upper Similkameen Indian Band. Adoption of the agenda. Recommendation that Council adopt the July 29th, 2020 Committee of the Whole agenda.
Make that motion.
Councillor Gould.
I'll second that.
Councillor Willis. Any additions? Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. No minutes to adopt. No petitions or delegations. No unfinished business. This leads us to staff reports. 6.1 UBCM provincial meeting requests and 2020 UBCM registration program discussion. Who should I hand that over to? Okay, I'll hand it over to CAO.
Okay. As you know, we're coming up to UBCM this fall in September, and it's going to be a different format. It's going to be virtual. But we still have to go through the same process if we want to meet with a minister. The meetings would be virtual, but staff have been sort of throwing around some ideas on what we might want to look at, and what we're trying to get an idea from council is what ministers or departments you would like to have a virtual meeting with. The ideas that staff had were the ALR land around the town and the Crown land. We have no control over those things, but maybe we could meet with the minister to see how we could free those properties up. Infrastructure grants. We've got grants in, and we'd like to see if we can't lobby some support for those grants. Ministry of Transportation. Highway 3 and Highway 5A, as we notice, it's getting busier and busier. It's getting very difficult for residents to access or cross those highways. We've met with them before about this, but we are doing traffic counts, and we might have more information to provide to the minister that would be more favorable in looking at traffic control in that area. And of course, we are continuing on with the aquatic center application, so maybe we would like to meet with the minister about that. So those are the 4 ideas that staff had, and we just thought we'd throw it open to you guys and see if there's anything else you'd like staff to pursue.
Go ahead. Anybody? Yeah, Councillor Gould.
So last year we met with the Honorable Selena Robinson about housing, and she gave us the recommendations to continue just to work within the community and our zoning. So I wouldn't mind meeting with them to find out what kind of projects are available for partnering with, like Canada Mortgage and Housing, or like I know we'd looked at working with a local.
Yeah, we can add that. I guess we can jump ahead a little bit, just out of our thing. We do have a preliminary, I guess we could say, partnership in place as of yesterday. I think with somebody to hopefully move forward on the property that we've been discussing. So,
Okay.
So was it September 1st the applications have to be in for the first round? So
Okay, good.
yeah, so we can add Minister Robinson to the list, but
I like her.
we want to be careful too. We don't want
Is
to
it?
overstep if we're in the process, right?
Great.
Make
There's
it sound
there's
like we're
so
bound to-
many, in my opinion, there's so many different options we should be looking at the same time.
Yeah, they did. So they did announce that one program, and it's going to have 2 intakes, and so that's what we're working off is those requirements that are on there right now. So
Okay.
those are the ones that they're really pushing forward with right now. Everything else is kind of, from what I understand, is taking a backstage to these 2 applications
Okay.
intakes. So.
And I understand though Canada Mortgage and Housing is a federal
Yeah.
program. It's just, it's nice if there's ways to kind of, or even talk with other communities that had that, because just to go off topic a little bit, we did have houses in Princeton, I believe it was in the early 70s, that were built under the Canada Mortgage and Housing program, but they're now not. They're no longer affordable housing, right? So
Yeah.
it's something to look at.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody else have a minister?
No, I agree. I think the Ministry of Housing would be, is a big one. And, you know, highways again, you know, I mean, it's pretty much
Same one we do every year.
Same, yeah,
Oh.
so,
I guess also too, we can request to speak to natural resources about the possibility of one more conservation officer in our area,
Yep.
if they
Yeah, we
won't give
can-
us one individually.
Pitch that again this year.
Mhm.
So the ALR one, so when I brought to Carrie's attention was so we could try to get some truthing done on the ALR land around Princeton, because a lot of it is, as you know, is not farmable, but it's zoned ALR.
yeah, lots of ALR like that.
So, you know, without some truthing done, there's no way for us to prove that this land can't be farmed or won't be farmed, so, or it's too small to be farmed, you know, there's some lots that are just not viable for farming as a standalone lot, so.
Yeah.
That's good.
George, anybody?
I'm in agreement with everyone else. I think just kind of aligning our minister selections to our priorities for this year just makes sense. So the big three, highways, infrastructure, and housing makes sense to me.
Perfect. Any other comments, or, anyways, think about it, and if you have anyone, what's our deadline, our timeline on that, Gary?
Yeah,
'Cause it's
it
pretty
is in
short.
here.
And of course, like always, there's no guarantees we'll get our meetings right. I'm hoping this year with it being virtual, we might actually get a chance to talk to ministers instead of staff this time around. August
Yeah.
4th? Okay. Okay, so if you have anybody, let us know by August 4th.
We got a bit of time to think about it.
Yep, you-
Next meeting,
yep,
and you'd need to.
got
know
all weekend to
before
think
that
about it.
meeting, 'cause you need to submit before our meeting,
Yeah,
so by August 3rd.
and do we know if we get to,
Yeah.
I guess we'd have to submit packages this year, unlike last year?
You know.
They haven't said?
They haven't said anything as far as packages go. I think that because it's a virtual meeting, that we can just have your bullet points in front of you and you can talk to them. And then after that, we can do a follow-up, thank you for meeting with us, and maybe send a package at that time,
Okay,
just to keep the conversation going.
yeah.
And then they will return a letter to us.
Yeah, I know with the changes last year, there was a lot of confusion, not just, I mean, I think we did a pretty good job, but other communities talking to them, there was some confusion because you didn't send your stuff forward before, right? You're going in cold, so let's hope this year we can send something forward. It makes it a little easier to break that ice.
And I think the minister meetings this year will be held prior to the UBCM.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I guess that brings us to UBCM registration. I don't know if everybody's seen the agenda for UBCM this year. It's $350
$50.
for registration, and it's all virtual, so there's not much on there I want to.
So do we have to sign up for different things, or is it just,
Just what's on the list there, which is very minimal.
Yeah.
There's maybe a couple things. There's a SILGA that,
There's a SILGA AGM, and then there's the small talks, but other than.
MFA. ministry.
MFA, yeah, but, yeah, only one goes to MFA, and then that's about it, really. There's no big speakers list this year, there's no workshops, that we've seen
and it's
yet,
still 350 in person?
so. So anyways, there's another thing for you guys to think about, what you wanna do about that, and just get back to us so we know what to do, and, who wants to go. You don't have to decide right now.
Yeah, there's basically on that last page has the options.
Yeah.
So there's one thing a day,
Yeah,
possibly two. Is there partial registrations, or is it just like you register?
Just the one.
Okay, so it's not, you can't just register for a day, okay.
they might have that option, actually. I should look at that, because even when you register for the UBCM, sometimes you can do partial registration, so I can look into that, but right now it's just showing a $350 amount.
It's just if that is a possibility, it might be feasible, because then, for example, like Silga would be something I would want to attend, but the AVICC annual general meeting, so it would be a little bit cheaper too, if we didn't have to pay for the full.
I was hoping they'd have the program actually available to see if they were gonna have speakers, that are gonna be attending virtually, so that, I do know, that I've talked to some other municipalities that are gonna have their counselors spend the days together in council chambers, viewing and attending meetings and stuff, virtually and together.
And that's kind of how I was seeing that as well, but.
And they do have breaks, like they have the lunch break and the morning coffee and stuff like that, but.
So anyways, things to think about. We can check to see if there's any updates on their website too. This was, what, a week or so ago we looked at it, so. I guess that brings us to 6.2, land use.
Yeah, so land use is just an open discussion, and it's an opportunity for staff to kind of bring council up to speed on what's been happening or where the pressure points are or whatever. Council has made it very clear that housing is top priority, and we're working with developers or private landowners, whatever, to help them get going, but we're at their mercy, and so the only thing that we can do relatively quickly is work on land that we own, right? And so one of the areas that we've identified is land around the airport. The town owns some land there. We've been doing some initial work on what it would take to develop land around the airport and the airport hillside. I think we're at the point now where we're looking at what are the regulations around housing around an airport, and so we're just kind of looking into that now, but it's looking fairly favorable that we can free up some land around the airport.
There is some land issues, right? Because some of it's zoned, or,
I'm playing tag right now.
Yeah,
with
so-
ALR.
Yeah, some of it's ALR, yeah. So there are some hurdles, but
Yeah.
we're pushing on those doors. Other than housing, we are getting a few inquiries of some unique businesses. So Princeton is becoming attractive, which is what we want. It does add to the ripple effect of the housing, though, of course, as we know. But one of the groups that are sort of showing interest in Princeton is the craft brewing industry. And so we are looking at or proposing to council that maybe we should look at our zoning bylaw to be a little bit more open to that kind of business. Right now, we don't actually have that identified as a permitted use, and so we'd have to do like a amendment for every application. So we're wondering if maybe we shouldn't just say, hey, anything in C2 and CT, we would add that in, and then if a business came to town, then it would be acceptable. So that's just something we're looking at. Boundary extension, the town is kind of limited to growth to their boundary. There are little pockets around the town that would make sense to maybe look at extending our boundary to take in other areas. That might free up some developable land. So that's an area that we can look into if there's an appetite of council to look at changing our boundary. We've done boundary extensions before in the past. It's not hard, but if we're going to do it, we should maybe take a holistic approach and look at, not just extend one area, but look at the whole area of Princeton and do it once and just do one boundary extension.
like the airport area.
Yeah, there's a piece up in that area, that's right.
That just goes like this.
Yeah, that's right. Why, I'm not sure, but it does. And again, a ripple effect, we've done our housing needs study and report, and it does show growth and it shows a need. But I wanted to bring council up to speed that along with that comes families and new people and whatever. And we know that there's going to be a pressure put on our child care services, and there'll be a need for more. And so we have amalgamated, or not amalgamated, we've joined forces with the RDOS. And just as we did a housing needs study on our own, we've joined up with the RDOS to do a child care planning project. And it's to look at the future child care needs of Princeton. That's a project that will go on until about February. But coming this fall, I wanted you to know that this group that's been engaged to do this study will start to send out surveys and start to engage the public probably in around September and try and get a handle on what our current needs are and what our future needs might be. So that's an exciting project that is grant funded. And the information will be very useful, and it does sort of tag into our housing needs study as well.
Yeah, we're already short daycare, aren't we?
Yes, yeah.
There's people at work that are-
Yeah, and as more and more people come into town and we develop houses, it's only going to put more of a pressure on that service.
Any questions?
No, sounds good. Where would you say the boundary, do you have a specific area that, where we extend to first?
Ye-
Like,
There's areas that we've been looking around at. There's nothing solidified yet.
No.
I mean, I guess the only one spot that, I guess would be like a definite, if we would, is that spot by the airport that kind of juts into the town and goes around us for whatever reason. And there's a couple other little spots too, but
There's lots of things to look at when you look at a boundary extension because you're adding services too.
Yeah.
So you're looking at road maintenance, snow removal, garbage pickup. Is it feasible to bring water to them? Are they're obviously already on septic? So it's all that kind of stuff that we'll look at and sort of see.
Yeah.
anything else?
Just an open discussion, that's
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
so.
So if we were to consider boundary extensions, again, it comes down to even like opening up the areas that we already have within Princeton for building comes down to our infrastructure.
Yeah.
So that's like, as Carrie had mentioned, the services, the costs.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things to factor in.
There's a lot to consider. It's not just drawing a line around the
Yeah.
That's right.
town.
And then, do we have, or will we be able to have a figure in mind of what it would cost for, like, I know we've applied for infrastructure grants.
Yeah.
But for what it would cost to get up to date where we could easily develop these areas. I think that would be nice if we could look at that one day.
I think Jamie is working on some of that right
Yeah.
now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, bigger
And-
picture.
And some of it's not just bringing it up to date, some of it's just the capacity
Yeah.
of being able to handle more.
Yeah,
Yeah, like our sewer problem right now isn't, it's capacity, right? It's
Yeah.
not,
and then treating it.
yeah.
I did see that there was Telqua that received an infrastructure grant for their wastewater system.
Oh, good.
So they're starting to hand them out.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
good.
That's good news, yeah.
So that would be nice. Okay. Yeah, and I do agree as well, doing the bigger picture, like looking at it and doing it once.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it, 'cause
Saves
I
money.
imagine there's costs.
Saves staff time and
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause there's
Everything, right?
process and so much go through
Yep.
another AAPs.
No, that's good. And it's exciting to hear that we have craft brewing thinking
Yeah.
of coming to town.
There's been quite a few
Yeah.
inquiries about it, so yeah, it's exciting.
Well, we even have some kids from town. Well, they're not kids anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Right.
Sorry. Some younger people
Yeah,
from
do-
Princeton that are actually in that business
Very
right now.
successful.
Yeah.
And doing very well. That's right.
So,
Yeah, they're not all kids.
okay. Any comments or whatever on
I
what we've been
know.
talking about? No? Okay. I guess that brings us to adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Elliott, second.
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Counselor Willis, all in favor? So moved. Or carried, I guess. Have a good night. Bye-bye.